For 4 years, she's served as the world's top human rights official. When Michelle Bachelet was appointed in 2018, human rights groups hoped the two-time president of Chile, herself once a political prisoner in her home country, would bring real clout to the role.
We need to continue working strongly so everyone, men, women and children, are able to live in a life that is safe, peaceful, as everybody wants.
Instead, Bachelet has faced criticism for not being forthright on human rights abuses, particularly concerning the persecution of the Uyghur community in China. A report she commissioned on the situation near the start of her term has still not been published, and her visit to China in May was widely condemned as a whitewash, with the US State Department calling it a mistake. Human rights groups worry that the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who will choose the next Human Rights Commissioner, will again opt for a candidate who will work largely behind the scenes rather than very publicly calling out all abuses.
I am deeply concerned that Secretary General Guterres is going to completely undermine the High Commissioner's post, make it utterly ineffective by selecting a quiet diplomat. Now, Guterres, stands out in contrast to some of his predecessors. Kofi Annan was very outspoken in speaking about human rights. Even Ban Ki-moon, not the most outspoken individual, but in the end found his voice on human rights. Guterres has been very reluctant to criticize particular governments unless they're already pariahs. And I fear that he's going to choose a High Commissioner who's going to share his reticence about using the only tool the High Commissioner has, which is public reporting and public condemnation, regardless of who the abuser is.
Diplomats say an official little known outside the UN who's worked for Guterres for decades, Volker Turk, is probably the front-runner for the job. Two other candidates, the former Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg and Kung-Hwa Kang, who was Foreign Minister of South Korea, have higher public profiles, but they're also known to favour quiet diplomacy over public advocacy. Time is running short. The next High Commissioner is supposed to be appointed by the Secretary-General, approved here in the General Assembly, and then take up their post by the 1st of September. Leading human rights groups are unhappy. They've offered their input to the Office of the Secretary-General, but so far they say they've been rebuffed. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.